Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala, an e-content project under National Mission on Education through ICT. I am Mini Ullanat, working as Systems Manager in Cochin University of Science and Technology. Today, I am introducing the module Information Communications and Technologies coming under the paper ICT for Libraries. What is ICT? It's an acronym for Information and Communication Technology or Technologies. ICT is an umbrella term that includes any communication device or application encompassing radio, television, cell phone, computer, network hardware, software, satellite system and similar, as well as various services and applications associated with them. This includes the video conferencing and the various distance learning modes. ICTs are often spoken in a particular context like ICT in education, ICT in healthcare or ICT in libraries. It can be defined as a diverse set of technological tools and resources used to communicate and to create, disseminate, store and manage information. These technologies include computers, internet broadcasting technologies as well as telephony. So in totality, ICT refers to the technologies that provide access to information through communication technologies. The main objective of the module is to introduce the ICT capability in finding and selecting useful information for effective and appropriate communication, to monitor and control events both reality as well as in virtual world, for applying the ICT skills and knowledge to the learning in various areas, to develop the language as well as the communication skills. What are the characteristics of ICT in education in particular? Let us start with that. ICT, when you mention ICT in education, it includes any hardware, software, technology that contributes to the educational information processing. In present scenario, in today's world, it mainly comprises of computer technology with its hardware like personal computers and the infrastructure for setting up the internet facility and the required softwares. Why is it so important to talk about ICT in education? What are the advantages? First and foremost is the quick access to the information. Information can be accessed within microseconds, connecting to any part of the world and surfing through the web pages. Easy availability of the updated data sitting at any corner of the world, the desired information can be at your fingertips. Even if you are geographically dispersed region, it is connected. With the advancement of ICT, education does not remain restricted within the four walls of the education institution. Students from different parts of the world can learn together by using online, offline resources, and such collaborative learning resulted in the new concept called Massive Online Open Courseware or MOOCs better known as. This has resulted in developing the divergent thinking ability in students. It has given rise to the global perspectives, respect for varied nature of human life and accumulation, and also the facilitation of learning at any point of time. So the effective usage of ICTs actually conglomerates the physical resources, digital resources, human resources, social resources, helps to access, adapt and create knowledge. What are the contributions of ICT? It helps the students to explore knowledge, to learn the content through self-study. The teachers can help the students by ensuring the right direction towards effective learning. Situational learning, program learning or online learning courses are some of the examples of these self-learning strategies. It helps in catering the individual differences and the wider range of communication media and wider learning opportunities for students. Where are ICTs used? Information and communication technologies are used for applications for corporates like airlines, insurance, internet banking, etc. Application for governance. You look at the birth certificate, death certificates or any other certificates for that matter issued by government authorities. Applications for healthcare. Your data about patients, diagnostics tools, telemedicine, special surgery. Then applications in education. We have already talked about it: computer-based learning, distance learning, e-learning, adaptive learning, flexible learning, multimedia learning experience, all at a reduced cost. But there is a disadvantage. There is no face-to-face human contact. It lacks that human contacts. And there is a lack of direct teamwork. It's an agile working environment where people are working at various places. And it requires greater self-discipline. ICT in everyday life. Where do we use it? Everywhere. Emails, e-commerce, online banking, e-government, online shopping, e-learning, and many more. We will come to the basics of information technology. First, what is IT and what is ICT? IT is a technology which uses computers to gather, process, store, protect, and transfer information. Today, it is common to use with the term information and communication technology because it is unimaginable to work on a computer which are not connected to the network. So, IT has slowly become ICT. When you talk about the computer system, we have think about hardware, the physical components, and software, the set of commands that are understandable to the computers or the instructions given to the system. What is the basic working principle of the computer? The data entered through the input device is being processed, stored in the system unit, and displayed via output devices. What is computer hardware? It's a collection of physical elements constituting the system. It refers to the physical parts or the components such as monitor, keyboard, data storage devices, your peripherals like hard disk, your printers. All these physical objects you can actually touch belong to the category of hardware. What is software? Software is a set of machine readable instructions that direct computers to perform a specific operations. So that is, in summation, hardware is the physical parts and software is the instructions. This slide shows, for example, is a typical example of a software. So coming to the organization of the systems, we have an input unit, we have a central processing unit, and an output unit. The function of the central processing unit is to execute the commands, transmission of data, and the total function control of the system. The basic characteristics of the CPU is the speed and the amount of memory. Now coming to the memory, what is memory? Random access memory, that is a memory container for the programs that are currently running and the data that is being processed. The basic characteristics here also is the speed, capability, and performance. Speed is measured in megahertz, capacity in MB, GB, or TB, that is megabytes, gigabytes, or terabytes, and performance of the system. What is data? What is information? We are inputting the data to the processor processes the data, and we get the information which is outputted through the output unit. The processing unit consists of a processor, the memory, the sound card, the video card, the different ports, the power supply, everything together in a box. We call it as a processing unit. So the microprocessor or the CPU is often referred to as the brain of the computer. So the CPU is the integrated circuit or the chip which processes the instructions and the data. And the system or the computer is identified by which chip it uses. For example, we know about the Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 5, Celeron, AMD, Athlon, the CPU types. The hard disk or the HDD, that is hard disk drive, is a device used for permanent data storage. Data is stored in magnetic platters. The electronic heads are used for reading and recording the data. And we have the new solid state drive, which are much more faster in retrieving as well as writing the data back. The basic characteristics are the disk platter's rotation speed, the capacity expressed in GB, and the connection interface. Another type of secondary storage which we commonly use is the floppy disk drive, which is slowly phased out of the market. We have better optical disks, for example the compact disk or digital versatile disk, and the more commonly used USB flash drives. Graphical processing units are also used along with the central processing unit for displaying images on the monitor or maybe for the better graphical outputs. But the new generation processors are having GPU capability along with the existing computing power. What is a port? We have parallel ports, serial port, universal serial bus, that is USB ports, which are the interfaces through which the system is connected to the external devices. Coming to the input and output devices. What are the various input devices? When you talk about the input devices, the devices through which the data is inputted, we have keyboard, we have mouse, scanners, touchpad, trackball, joystick, microphone, stylus, camera, etc. And how do we output the processed data, that is information? We have monitors, we have printers, we have plotters, we have projectors, we have speakers, through these things. So input unit basically accepts the data and instruction, it converts the instructions into a computer acceptable form and transfer the converted instructions to the computer for further processing. Output devices communicates the result of data processing carried out by an information processing system. It converts the electronically generated information into a human readable form. What are the how do we store this processed information? We know that the main memory doesn't store it permanently. For that we need a media for storing. We use hard disk or the USB flash drive or the various diskettes and zip diskettes, CDs and DVDs. We have memory cards, internal hard disk, external hard disk, network disk drive or online storage devices. That is about the hardware. Coming to the software systems, we are dividing it into the system software and application software. Operating system, the category that belongs to system software, is a basic program on which your computer is automatically loaded to computer startup. And the typical example of an operating system is a Microsoft Windows, Linux, which includes the Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, all the flavors. Then if you are using a Macintosh system, we have Mac OS like Cheetah, Panther, Snow Leopard, etc. Another category of software we are using is the application software. An example is a Microsoft Office or OpenOffice. All your antivirus program like a Kaspersky or a WASP or these things belong to the application software category. All your DBMS is application software. Your web browser is a Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari, all belongs to the category of application software. So that concludes the hardware and software. And the next part, that is the information part of it, information processing part of it. When you talk about the information communication technologies, which is the communication technology? The basic way of communicating is through the networks. What are the characteristics of the network? What do you mean by network? Networks means it's a connected world. When you connect the system within a short jurisdiction, that is a small network that is physically connecting all the nearby computers, we call it as LAN or local area network. Computers, for example, computers within a firm, within an organization or within a household, that is a LAN. A larger network that covers a city or a wider area, we call it as WAN, W-A-N, wide area network. What is internet? Internet is a world of network and computers connected through this WAN and LAN. Extranet. So here is when you talk about internet, we have an intranet and an extranet. Intranet means it's a smaller network. Extranet means outside people are granted access. It is not exclusively for an organization, but also outside the organization, people have the access to the network. That is an extranet. So, intranet or the intranet is an internal network only accessible by the authorized individuals, whereas internet is used to access global information and, for instance, any communication by anyone, anytime, anywhere. Intranets basically connects within organization and generally make company information accessible to the information, for employees and facilitate a group activity, whereas internet connects to the various organizations like business, government, education institution, individual, anywhere, anytime. So that was about the internet. which started off as a network project of Defense DoD called ARPANET way back in 1971. All the protocols developed on that. Even now we are using the TCP/IP protocol which is being used then. That was way back in 1971. 20 years later, through this network, a theoretical physicist wanted to share some of his research information, and that was the birth of World Wide Web. It is a system of interlinked hypertext documents accessed via this internet. With a web browser, you are browsing the system. So there is a server which keeps all the information and a client which accesses the information. This was conceived by a theoretical physicist by name Tim Berners-Lee, a CERN, employed by CERN. That is WWW or World Wide Web, which is a protocol that helps people to view or to share the information which contains text, images, videos through hyperlinks. Other services on internet are instant messages, emails, voice over internet protocol, that is VoIP, RSS, that is real simple syndication, used for dissemination of information of articles published. Suppose you have an RSS feed that tells you that the new information is available now. That is, information is pushed. Web pages are typical examples of the service that you are getting through this internet. Podcasts, the digital files that contain audio or video recorded broadcasting over the internet, we are called podcasting. How do you access this network? How can you be a part of this network? It is possible through dial-up or broadband connectivity. It can be accessed through phone, mobile or cable or wireless or via satellite connection. All you need is an connectivity and an internet protocol address. There are so many virtual communities currently available. We have the social networking sites like Facebook, Twitter, etc., which shares certain information among the similar interested group. There are internet forums, chat rooms, multiplayer games, and the way to publish contents on the internet like blogs, podcasting, photos, video, audio contents, etc. So, how do you make sure that you are having your information safe on such an open cyber world? You need to have a privacy protection of your profile. You need to limit the publishing and the usage of your personal data. You should be aware that the published information is publicly accessible. You have to be cautious while communicating with the strangers. You have to, the task most suited for the computer than a human. You have to be cautious on what information you are putting out for, or whatever information you are throwing out. It is an open world. That is about the networking. Coming to the size of the computers, how do you classify the computer? Size-wise? Size-wise, supercomputer is occupying the prime position or the fifth position. What is so super about supercomputers? It is very fast, yes. It can process so much information at a click of a second, yes. What made it super? The processor that is being used, that is a parallel processor, that made supercomputer super, which is having a capability of processing multiple instructions at a time. Supercomputers are widely used in scientific applications such as aerodynamic design, simulation, processing of geological data, etc. Some of the most powerful computers today is a Cray, high-tech Cray XMP, SX2, etc. It has the ability to support several gigabytes of RAM and recover automatically from failures. The mainframe computers used to have a prime position, but it is less powerful and less expensive than supercomputers, though it is very large in size. It processes several million instructions. it is not as efficient as supercomputer when it comes to the data processing. Mini computers are also general purpose computer, which is a medium sized, but they have slower operating system and smaller backup. It is well adapted for functions such as accounting or smaller database management softwares. The most popular one is the personal computer, and the processing power is actually attained a speed such a way that whatever the mainframe used to do at maybe 10-20 years back, a system sitting on your desktop is able to do that. It is the least expensive of all the computers and having smallest memory but medium power. It is called the personal computers. And the size of the system is coming down. We call it as notebook computers. It is almost similar to your personal computers, maybe having almost the memory and the hard disk capability of your laptops or other desktop computers. So that is about the size-wise classification. But when you think about little back behind history, there has been generations of computers, The first generation computers, which was very big in size, slow processing, used vacuum tubes as their basic component. The amount of energy was huge and had very small memory. That is called the first generation computer, which used vacuum tubes. It moved over to the second generation computer with a great invention of the science called transistors. In 1948-49, the semiconductor device named transistor was developed by a group of 3 scientists, which paved way to the second generation computers. Further technological advancement, transistors gave way to integrated circuits. So the generation of computer that used ICs as the main hardware, that was circa 1966. They were called as third generation computers. When Intel designed a very large complicated integrated circuit in 1971, calling it VLSI, that is very large scale integration, or the processor, it came to such a situation that the CPU, that is your control unit and ALU, could be integrated into a small chip which was named as the microprocessor. This gave birth to the current personal computing technology. They are very small, fast, reliable, versatile, very user-friendly, and huge storage capacity and accuracy. That is the system which we are right now using, the fourth generation computers. But technology never stops. After microprocessors, scientists are trying to create faster, smaller, more reliable systems with biochip, with gallium arsenide, silicon being replaced by something else, and computers that will have artificial intelligence. We are waiting for the fifth generation computers to arrive. So that was a sum total of the information and communication technologies. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.